This is Morgan. The year is 2034. I keep having this dream. I'm just staring into the black between the stars. There's something there. I can't see it, but it sees me. It sees everything. To make this right, someone has to die.
I remember playing through the old Prey from 2006 on my Xbox 360 way the hell back in the day. It was freaking weird, man. Portals, funky gravity, size transformation, spirit quests, goddamn. It was a trip for a 10-year-old me. I also recall hearing about a sequel, Prey 2, which was kept under wraps in development hell until its public cancellation in 2014. But then, 2 years later, Bethesda, of all companies, announced a reboot of the franchise, not a sequel, that was coming out for 2017. I was skeptical because they'd stated it had taken concepts and themes from the 2006 game, but had also scrapped all of the previous work done on the game itself by Human Head Studios. Arcane were now heading the project, the people who made 2012's Dishonored, which I didn't love nearly as much as the mainstream, but that's a topic for another video. Delays, cancellations, and developers coming and going, you can understand my skepticism. But when I finally grabbed Prey 2017 on sale to satiate my curiosity, I slowly but surely fell in love. Prey is a game that you simply cannot take at face value. You'd be forgiven if you thought this was a simple aliens on a space station game. I sure did, and it was a hell of a shock when I found out just how deep this ocean goes. Released on the 5th of May 2017 for Microsoft Windows, PS4, and Xbox One, Prey pays homage to the System Shock games in a variety of ways, and it's probably the closest thing we'll ever get to another game in that series. If you've played System Shock, I'm sure you'll understand. Prey takes place in an alternate future where JFK survived the assassination attempt against him in 1963. In the rest of his time in office, he directs much more money into the space program, setting the stage some 60 to 70 years later for the game. The technology in this future is so advanced that abilities can be implanted into your brain via a needle that creates the proper neural connections to facilitate almost any task, humanly possible or not. Kinda like the Matrix, but with purple goo instead of computer code. The player assumes the role of Morgan Yu, who can be male or female, chosen at the beginning of the game and purely for personal preference. You've just been hired by your brother Alex to work on the family space station to research crazy space science bullshit. You take some basic tests on Earth before you fly up to Talos 1, but you quickly find out things are not what they seem. I really can't say much more, there's so many fun twists and turns the story takes, and I'd hate to spoil any of them. Regardless, you do find yourself on Talos 1, a massive, fully explorable space station nearly 8 Statues of Liberty tall, and infested with a terrifying alien lifeform. And of course, it's up to you to save the day. It's really best to go in blind from here, so I'll leave it at that. Prey is a great looking game, even at the mid-level graphics settings. Up close, the textures can be a little blurry or muddy on some physics objects, but overall it is not going to hurt your eyes, especially from a distance. Enemy designs are also very cool, with enough variation between types that it's easy to tell what they are from a glance, once you learn what they're called at least. There's a really fun and nerve-wracking sense of discovery each time you encounter a new enemy type that you don't really get with many of the games, and the subsequent panic trying to figure out a plan of attack to take them out, hoping that they're going to be weak to whatever you have planned. None of this is to mention the mimics, little aliens who can camouflage themselves as regular in-game physics objects and jump out at you. I was worried that they'd be reduced to cheap jump scare status, but my god, what an excellent addition to the game, very much reinforcing the general sense of distrust of everything around you. The environments are rich and detailed, littered with little touches like coffee cups on people's desks, banana peels in their trash cans, or burned out cigars in executive office ashtrays. Seriously, I cannot stress how cool the environments are. Prey is atmospheric as all hell, from the bathrooms to the lobbies to the vacuum of space around the station. It makes you feel this special combination of awe, unease, and distrust of everything that you see, and those are heavily recurring themes throughout Prey. Let's talk about the sound design. It's no Alien Isolation, but it's damn good. especially under the lens of specifically existing in service to the game's atmosphere. Mick Gordon did the soundtrack, and while personally I don't find it as enjoyable as Doom 2016's heavy metal, it gets the job done for the tone they're trying to convey. The opening theme makes you feel safe and lures you into a false sense of security, and then the world falls apart and the music gets dark, sporadic, and downright anxiety-inducing. The cues are the best parts for me. The little sounds that play when the enemies are onto you, and the muffled footsteps behind a wall, or the low hum of a flying alien's mysterious propulsion. Again, atmospheric as hell. My biggest problem with the sound design in Prey is that the actors were much too close to their microphones while they were recording their lines. They're like disproportionately loud compared to all the other sounds. It's kinda weird, to be honest.
Morgan! Finally! Hey, you don't look terrible in a TranStar uniform. How's your eye? Still red? I know the test might seem a little unconventional, but it's a you family tradition.
Get back up!
My favorite part of Prey's audio is the absolute deafening silence of the open vacuum of space outside the station. It puts me on edge just to think about it. The little puffs of the thrusters on your suit, Morgan's shallow breaths, and I swear I can hear my own heart beating during these moments. The little voice inside your spacesuit is also worth mentioning. It's no generic, light, female computerized voice. It's this low, almost broken, glitchy sounding, deep male synthesizer.
Suit integrity damaged. Microgravity detected.
And again, that's just to drive home one of the main themes of the game, unease. It's not soothing, comforting, or a wisecrack like Cortana, Edie, or Vega. It's downright creepy, and I love that. I sound like a broken record here, but the atmosphere is simply incredible if you let yourself get immersed. Prey never crashed on me in the 30 plus hours across multiple playthroughs, which is a lot more than I can say about lots of other games Bethesda has put their name on. Anyway, yes, the game runs great while you're playing, but here we see my biggest complaint about Prey as a whole: frequent and lengthy loading screens. Talos 1 is split up into 13 sections, and each time you change sections, bam, loading screen. Given the nature of the game's branching quest lines and how much backtracking you'll have to do, you'll be sitting through an awful lot of these. They took about 30 seconds for me until I turned down my graphics settings a bit and got them down to about 20 seconds. That's still kind of a lot considering other games from years past hover around 10 to 13 seconds and load much more space in that time. It's probably just an engine thing, but I still wish they were a little faster given how often you have to sit through them. It's especially bad on a first playthrough, when your routes to complete quests aren't very streamlined and you don't really know any shortcuts between locations, meaning you'll probably resort to entering a location, sprinting through it to the lobby, taking an elevator, loading a new area just to complete one objective, then having to run all the way back for a total of like 6 loading screens, accumulating at like 2 minutes of just loading for one objective that took equally as long to actually complete. It sounds like I'm heaping shit on the game now, and please don't take this the wrong way. It's not a deal breaker, just an annoyance that might get worse the longer you play. Prey has what many would call emergent gameplay, meaning that you have a set of tools to accomplish goals with, but the manner of which the goals get completed is up to the player. Let me explain. Say you've got to get into a room above you, but the stairs are blocked with debris, and the maintenance door is locked and you don't have the code. You could upgrade your jumping height to get on top of the room. You could use the self-explanatory glue cannon to build yourself a ramp. You could use the foam dart crossbow toy to press a switch out of reach. You could use a recycling charge to break the debris on the stairs down into crafting components. You could upgrade your hacking skills to get to the door. You could use a computer terminal to track down the corpse with the key on it and get in legitimately. Or, you could use an alien power to turn yourself into a coffee cup and throw yourself through a broken window. I probably sound like a crazy person here, but this is why I love Prey so much. It not only allows for, but encourages lots of player expression in getting things done, and the wealth of character upgrades you can get means you could do 3 or 4 playthroughs easily with completely different ability sets and strategies, and they would still be each as viable as the last one. You could have a character who uses alien abilities like telekinetic shocks, which are immensely powerful, but you run the risk of the station's security mistaking you for an alien. You could make an engineer character centered on having portable turrets do all the fighting for you, and repairing them when they get damaged. You could be a sneaky one-shot stealth build, a guns-blazing commando, or a melee-based wrench-swinging madman. The possibilities are vast, and the game almost demands multiple playthroughs to be not only fully explored, but fully enjoyed as well. That's the broad stroke, but what about the gameplay specifics? Well, to be honest, the shooting is a bit underwhelming, but I think that was done on purpose. For one, I wouldn't call Prey a shooter. It's got shooting mechanics and options that allow for it, but I don't think Arcane wanted point-and-click gun combat to take center stage. There's just so many options for gameplay, it's not really fair to classify Prey as an FPS. Not to say the guns aren't cool, the tech-based ones all have this sort of prototype feeling to them, like the player is testing them out more than actually using them, if that makes any sense. The Disruptor gun has exposed wires all over it, the grenades look jerry-rigged, and the Q-beam is literally a prototype. Every weapon has a purpose, and every enemy is weak to something. The standard alien is stopped in its tracks if you blast it with glue, and any alien merged with technology can be put on its ass with a well-placed EMP grenade or stun gun shot. Even enemies with psychic abilities can be temporarily disabled by a null wave grenade. You've got the tools, but you gotta use your imagination to make it all work. I should also mention the crafting system. 99% of the crap on the station can be broken down into base components and used to fabricate something useful at relevant workstations. Every little physics object, your own guns, looted alien body parts and organs, everything. And it makes this really cool little self-sustaining ecosystem of crafting ingredients, where it's technically finite what you can gather overall, but you still need to make an effort to gather things you need. You won't have the right ingredients for the purple goo needles unless you kill a few aliens here and there. You can't craft any ammo if you're not picking up mineral materials, etc., etc. Going back to attention to detail, I have one last point to make in regards to the subject. You know how in most games like this, there's a bunch of nameless corpses around, and then there's the ones holding key items that actually matter? In Prey, every single person that was on the station is accounted for. Everyone. Every last survivor and corpse alike. Don't believe me? Head to any security checkpoint across the station and find a name that doesn't have a corresponding body, dead or alive, or the other way around. You can, and that just shows how incredibly detailed this game world is. Prey is one of those anomalous games that I don't really feel like I can fully explore in a reasonable amount of time in a review. I've read and reread this script a dozen times, and while I've said everything I plan to say, I still don't feel like I got my ultimate point across. It's one of those games that you just sort of have to play for yourself. It's also in that strange category wherein after my first playthrough I'd have given it maybe a 7 out of 10, but after my second and third playthroughs it's worked its way up to a 8.5 or 9 at least. I'm serious. Grab it on sale, plan to run through it more than once, and please, for the love of God, avoid all the spoilers you can. Remember emergent gameplay too. Even when it seems like you're stuck, remember, there is always a way. Turn down the lights, get on your best pair of headphones, and let the world suck you in. Oh, and don't push the fat man. I'm not typically the outro type, but it is a special day. The upload date of this video, January the 18th, is the 1-year anniversary of when I uploaded my very first review. I've been really happy to share my opinions on these games with everyone, and I hope I've swayed a few people to pick up something they might not have played otherwise. I also want to say thank you to everyone who's stopped by the channel over the past year, to everyone who's checked out a video, shared it with their friends, dropped a like, or subscribed. It's crazy to think that people actually watch my shit, so thank you. Here's to one good year down, and lots more content to come.